Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in this tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. So today's recipe is going to be African peanut stew. I'm not sure how African accurate it is, so we'll just call it vegan peanut stew. And it is a healthy stew, nice and thick and rich. Keep it up over rice, but it is a nice, easy recipe to make. Very hearty, very filling, and very healthy. So if you have started 2023 with some goals to eat healthier, if you are doing veganuary and are at a loss as to what to make your family that is plant-based, is vegan, and that they will like, this is a good recipe for you. So let me show you what the ingredients are. Okay, so the ingredients for our peanut stew are, starting with the vegetables, 1 medium sweet potato or yam, the orange flesh ones. I had a behemoth, so I've cut this in half. It's about a pound-ish. 1 medium onion, half a green pepper, or the whole one if you really want to. Then some tomato paste, this, or sometimes called tomato puree in some countries. It's the thick, concentrated tomato paste. Fresh ginger or ground ginger, some chili powder, some cumin, some smoked paprika, garlic, either some garlic cloves or jarred minced garlic, and some veggie bouillon. I'm going to use this better than bouillon, vegetarian one. It's actually vegan. And then a little olive oil if you choose to saute in oil. If not, saute in water. That's all that we have. Oh, wait, forgot about these. And some unsalted roasted peanuts. If all you have is salted, that works too. You will also need peanut butter for this recipe, preferably natural. All I have is I think this is Kraft. The label has come off. That's all I have. So that's what I'm going to use. But if you're buying peanut butter for this recipe, it is better with natural peanut butter. So the first thing we're going to do is get our veggies, our onion and peppers sauteing. So I'm going to chop up my onion. There's my knife. Sorry, I know that's loud. I'm getting a lot of questions in my messages from people who are trying veganuary this year. If you don't know what veganuary is, it's basically a challenge or something you can sign up for online. It's worldwide, and it's basically eating plant-based vegan recipes all year, or all year, I wish, all of January. It's a great way to sort of test it and try out new recipes. And you can find so many resources online, on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube. All you have to do is Google veganuary and you will find a ton of amazing recipes, easy ones. I'm going to dice up the green pepper as well. We're going to let the onions sweat for a little bit, and then we're going to add the green peppers to cook as well before we add our spices. Now, traditionally, the recipes call for collard greens or I think kale. You could probably use spinach. I don't happen to have any of that in the house. So we're not going to use it. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit of oil, but I'm not going to use a whole lot. I'm going to use water to saute, but I'm just going to add a tiny bit. Maybe half teaspoon to start. And then we are going to saute our onions and then add our peppers. I have diced up my sweet potato. Whoops. There's one making a run for it. Get it up there. Into little bite-sized pieces because you don't want too big of a piece. And we will add those in along with the spices in a little bit. So I'm just going to coat the onions in the oil, and then I'll add a little bit of water, put the lid on, and let the onions sweat down a bit. Let the onions soften. Just check on them, make sure they're not burning. Add a little bit more water, a little bit at a time to make sure that they don't stick and that they continue to cook. But what you don't want is for them to burn. And if you want, you can just use more oil instead of water. But in the interest of making this a healthier recipe for you all for the new year, I'm just going to use mostly water. So we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll add the peppers. All right, so the onions have sweated a bit. They're getting soft. I'm going to add the green peppers now, and I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic. So let that saute for just a few minutes longer. Now that all the moisture has been absorbed, all cooked off, we're going to add our spices. Oh, forgot to tell you what that was. 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, or if you're grating fresh, about a tablespoon, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of cumin. That's what that was. So let's just let the spices just sort of cook a little bit. The house is starting to smell good. And now I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of the tomato paste. And let that cook a bit. So we always want to, if you remember, and often I forget, cook the tomato paste in basically a dry pan a little bit. It helps to caramelize it a little bit and reduces the bitterness. Okay, I'm going to turn this down. And now I'm going to add 4 cups of veggie broth. Now is also when we're going to add our 1/2 cup of peanut butter. And I apologize for all of you who are of African descent, who make the traditional African peanut stew, because I know that mine is not very authentic. It's probably driving you crazy right now watching me make this. Like I say, I usually, or I would normally recommend that you use like natural peanut butter, but I don't have it. And in the interest of using up what's in my pantry, we're going to go with this. Okay, so once the peanut butter is mixed in, I'm going to add our sweet potatoes. Like what I've got here is about a pound, so 1 medium sweet potato. Again, I had that behemoth sweet potato, so I'm going to use 1/2 of that. I'm just going to taste this. I'm not going to add salt until the very end because the broth is, the bouillon is salty. And if you are using kale, collard greens, spinach, you want to add that at the end. But let's just give this a taste. Oh, it's good. Excuse me, you can taste the chili powder. It goes right to the back of my throat. And yeah, it doesn't need salt. I'm going to put a lid on it, and then I will come back when it's done. In the meantime, I've chopped a 1/4 cup of roasted peanuts. You can toast them if you want. I'm not going to. And then, so we'll be back here in about 20, 25 minutes. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes-ish. And I'm going to turn this off. I just did the sweet potatoes, and they are nice and soft. And what we're going to do now, you don't have to do this, but I like to do it because it thickens things up, is I'm just going to press some of the sweet potatoes against the side of the pot just to mash them and thicken up the soup. You're not going to puree it or anything, but just mash some of the sweet potatoes to give the soup some thickness. There. And that just really just helps. So now what I'm going to do is plate this. I'm going to sprinkle some dried parsley on top. If you have fresh cilantro, parsley, you can use that. And then garnish with some of the roasted peanuts. If you were adding collard greens or kale or spinach, now is when you would add it, and you would let it sit, stir it, and let it sit for just a couple of minutes for it to wilt. I am not doing that because I don't have any. And I'm on a push to eat up what's in my fridge and in my pantry. So add a little green on top, some of the roasted peanuts. There you go. Looks good, doesn't it? So I'm going to let this cool because I often don't, and then I burn myself. So I'm just going to let this cool for a few minutes, and then we'll be back for the taste test. Okay, it's time to try the soup. And it's cooled off enough that I shouldn't burn myself, though it still looks pretty darn steamy, doesn't it? That is so good. Oh yeah, very good. Nice when you get a bit of the crunch from a peanut. So again, this is not authentic. I'm sorry for all of you who are out there screaming at your TVs right now or your computer screens, because this is not an authentic African peanut stew. It is my take on it based on what I had in my fridge. But it's still really damn good. So if you are trying to eat plant-based, if you are participating in Veganuary, if you are wondering what to make to feed your family that is hearty, healthy, filling, and makes a lot of leftovers, this is the recipe for you. I don't think this freezes very well. So it's one of those things that you should probably eat up in about 3 or 4 days. But I think you'll really like this. Let me know if you try it. Let me know if this recipe is part of your culture. Let me know how you make it. I did look at other recipes. My version is an amalgamation of recipes that I looked at. and then what is in my pantry. So you can make this a lot spicier. Obviously, the traditional recipes usually use a hot pepper, sometimes chili flakes. The 1 teaspoon of chili powder doesn't make it spicy. It's got a little bit of a zip, but not spicy. So if you like things spicier, either add more or add a hot pepper or add a splash of sriracha. If you happen to be participating in Veganuary, I have a whole playlist of plant-based recipes that you can look at for ideas, because all of my recipes are fast, easy, they're not complicated. They do not require you to be a chef. Just a regular old home cook, even a beginner, can make my recipes. Trust me. Anyways, guys, I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year to you. I have some really interesting content, I think, coming up. I think you'll find Sunday's video kind of interesting because I've set myself some goals. As you know, my theme for 2023 is peace and calm. And to come along with that, I have set myself some goals, some mini challenges to get myself organized, reduce clutter, so that my life is more peaceful and calmer. And I'm sure that a lot of you have some similar goals. And so we can talk about those next Sunday. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, eat good food and be kind. I love you, and I'll see you next time.